Never in my lifetime would I've ever expected anything like this could happen. Not just in the health and medical field, but throughout the entire world. Our whole world got shut down just because of this pandemic we've been fighting for over the last several weeks.
The thing I will remember the most about this time is that I didn't sit around and just watch this pandemic unfold before my very eyes.
What influenced your decision into going into healthcare?
I would have to say taking care of my parents. That made me change. Decide that when I went back to work, that I wanted to take care of people. I was in the legal field for many years, but I decided that I wanted to switch careers.
I've always known since I was a wee tot, like about when I was 5. I drew a picture of a nurse, so and then as I got older, I always watched at medical shows on TV, so nothing really like drove me away from it. I've always known for a very long time, and I did classes in high school for nursing, and ever since then I've always been in the medical field.
I work in the outside offices, 5 different offices, and they changed it so then we only have 2 offices. One office is strictly for patients who are there for well visits in particular. In the morning, I just prepare myself for the day. I wind up, sometimes I try and have my lunch together the night before. They take my stuff I leave normally by like 7 o'clock in the morning. Usually I don't get home until about 6:30. That's when I'm working in the offices.
So, as today's Friday, so I work Fridays. I work 3 days a week, which means I have 4 days off. So I work 3 12-hour shifts. And what that entails is I work nights. So I work from 6:30-ish, 6:45. I roughly get to work around, and I clock in. But prior to that, I sleep for about 2 hours, 2-3 hours before I go into work on my first day. And when I get to work, I basically do the basic stuff I need to get done with getting myself prepared for the night. I do the glucometer checks, I do anything with the UC work that I need to be doing, answering phones, I do patient care work, help the nurses turn the patients, clean the patients during the night, empty Foley catheters. I help with a lot of different things with the nurses throughout the night, and it kind of continues on as the same routine I do in the beginning, but in reverse towards the end of the night.
While U.S. health officials work to contain the spread of the virus here, 8 more countries announced their first cases on Friday. To date, more than 83,000 cases have been reported worldwide, the vast majority in China. Cases have been confirmed in 53 nations. The virus is blamed for more than 2,800 deaths so far since it was first reported late last year.
When did you first hear about the coronavirus?
For the first time, I heard about it slightly in about the end of January, beginning of February. I remember having the conversation with the physicians in the office with what was going on in the world, and then bringing that up with regarding the coronavirus. And then one of the doctors made a mention that he felt that he thought that it might take the same path as it did for the Spanish flu that took place in 1918. So we got on that subject.
I would have to say back in like November, December, when they were mentioning about it in China, but we didn't know it was going to hit as bad as it did. And I wouldn't have been able to predict that at all.
The spread of the coronavirus. The World Health Organization says the risk of the virus expanding worldwide is now classified as very high. And there are new cases of the disease here in the United States.
Anything like this could happen the way it's happening now?
Yes and no. I think that we were prepared, but not prepared enough, because we have lack of supplies right now that we got from other countries that help us out with our basic needs for medical supplies and for medications, and especially with different hurricanes throughout the years and stuff like that. Supplies and demand for drugs and stuff aren't as readily available.
Any issues people in your position are facing working in your field?
Absolutely, there's a lot. There's the fear of bringing the coronavirus home to your family, fear of you getting sick yourself. There's the fear of not having enough what we call PPE, which is gowns, gloves, masks, and the different types of masks that you're supposed to have, whether it's a surgical mask or an N95 mask, which is basically what we're supposed to be using. But there's a shortage of a lot of the PPEs, so we right now are having to use the same mask all day long.
The lack of PPE, and that's personal protective equipment. So for our goggles, something to protect our eyes, our masks, we have N95 masks that we use for these patients because they're droplet precaution, airborne, and contact. So we're in gowns, like yellow gowns, to protect us from going from patient to patient. Lack of gloves, we're starting to see now. Gowns, gloves, goggles, definitely 100% on masks. We're given one mask a shift, one surgical, and where the area where I work, it's even more of a higher risk because I work in the intensive care unit. So you're seeing people on the ventilator more frequently than you would any other time of the year because of this, and its impact. Our high acuity in the hospital we're always full. And on our intensive care unit, it's only a 12-bed unit, but we've expanded to be 80 beds.
Because we went down from 2 offices, from 5 offices, we got our hours cut. So we only work in the offices 2 days a week. And then I myself work 2 days at what they call the respiratory tent. And the respiratory tent is located at Huntington Medical Center. And that's located outside. And what happens is that patients, when they go to the ER, they get assessed by a nurse at the ER prior to them going into the ER, and they determine whether those patients need to go into the ER for a specific reason or whether they have to go to us. The people who go to the respiratory tent are people who have symptoms of the coronavirus.
Inside that building also is they have people who are on a hotline. So people will call in, we have a hotline, and people will call in and then give them their symptoms and everything else, and they'll determine whether they need to come here to the emergency room or not, or whether they just need to be quarantined at home.
Have there been any peculiar things that have happened during this particular time that you've gone through?
Definitely, it's not easy for the families of these patients because of, they're not allowed to come and visit. The families aren't allowed to visit their loved ones, so you don't know. They only get a phone call or 2 a day giving updates unless they're calling in to get updates. We've encountered with making sure that we are FaceTiming these family members or Skyping them if they don't have an iPhone, doing Skype or some sort of Zoom or something for the family members to physically see their loved one in the bed. I have one encounter within the last couple weeks. It was about 2.5-3 weeks ago. I came off my 3rd night of work. It's 7:30 in the morning when I get to Stop and Shop, and I go in. I'm in my scrubs. I'm half asleep because I'm just trying to get what I need to get in and get out. I'm about to go to check out, and some lady, middle-aged lady, probably mid-late 40s to 50s. She was wearing a garbage bag completely down to her knees, duct taped herself, gloves going up both arms. She had like a goggles on, and she had a medical grade N95 mask on, and she wore not only was this plastic bag, but it was over top of her, and she duct taped it to herself. And she hollered for me to tell me how dare I go into the store and go in and try to get her sick, and you shouldn't be in here, you're wearing scrubs, you can cross-contaminate people, how dare you. She was giving me the whole 9 yards, and I said to her, I have the right to be here just as much as you have the right to be here too. I'm coming off of work and I'm just picking up something and leaving. I'm keeping my distance from everybody, as should you, but you were coming close to me to yell at me. And a store manager had to get involved, and she was escorted away from me so I can check out.
That if I go into the grocery store with my uniform on, I'm not working at the hospital itself, and I'm not working, I'm usually working at one of the well offices or something. I happen to stop on my way. Do I have a mask on and everything else? Yes. Have I had people give me some strange stares and things like that? Yes. And people looking at me like, why am I there? And this kind of thing. I'm there for the same reason as they are, to pick up a few items. It's definitely going to be something that's going to be well known by many people from years on end. And us ourselves are never going to forget about it because we lived through it.
It's going to be a lesson for us to learn from about being prepared. I mean, there's no such thing as being over-prepared, but I think we were prepared but not realizing how much we needed to prepare more of. We didn't realize we needed to train as quickly as we needed to. I would be okay with looking back at this time and seeing that I did the best that I could. I don't think there's anything I would have changed about it. I wish we were a little bit more prepared and ready for what the impact it was in the hospital facility.
The world still goes on no matter whether you have to stay at home or whether you have to go into work. And if anything, maybe families are closer because they have to spend more time with each other compared to normal. They can go and they can play games, watch movies together, take walks together, play outside together, things that maybe they might not have done as much prior to that. So if anything, maybe it might help some of the families that are out there to realize that how much family is important.